one of the most magnetic things about older men, and one of the reasons women lose their composure around them, is the way they carry themselves. Confidence at this stage of life doesn't look like the loud, boastful energy you sometimes see in younger men. It's quieter, calmer, and far more powerful. It's the type of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself because it's already deeply rooted in who he is. Women notice this immediately. They can sense when a man is grounded in himself, when he no longer needs external validation to prove his worth. And that presence alone creates a strong pull that feels almost irresistible. Why does this happen? Because confidence is not just about what you say or how you act. It's about energy. A man who knows himself radiates a steady energy that says, I am secure in who I am. I don't need to compete, and I don't need to pretend. That kind of energy makes women feel safe and intrigued at the same time. It is safety mixed with mystery, and that combination is incredibly attractive. Think about the difference between noise and silence. Noise tries to get your attention by being loud, but silence has its own power. It forces you to lean in, to pay attention, to wonder what lies beneath. Quiet confidence works in the same way. It doesn't scream for validation, it doesn't chase attention, and yet it draws attention effortlessly. Women see it in the way an older man walks into a room, the way he takes his time to speak, or the way he holds eye contact without wavering. Every gesture communicates strength without aggression. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. As people mature, their identity solidifies. A younger man is often still trying to figure himself out. Who he wants to be, what he wants to achieve, how he wants others to see him. That uncertainty creates behaviors that sometimes come across as insecure bragging, overcompensating, or seeking constant approval. Older men, by contrast, have lived enough life to understand that they don't need to prove themselves to anyone. Their past experiences, both victories and failures, have given them perspective. And that perspective is exactly what women interpret as power. Philosophically, quiet confidence also ties to something deeper self, mastery. The ancient Stoics often spoke of the man who has mastered himself as being more powerful than the man who conquers a city. When you meet an older man who has discipline, who has learned how to regulate his emotions, and who carries himself with calm assurance, you are looking at someone who has achieved a form of self-mastery. And women, whether consciously or not, are drawn to this because it represents strength at its highest level, not physical strength alone, but emotional and spiritual strength. And here's the truth: women don't just admire this quality, they respond to it viscerally. It changes the way they behave in his presence. When a woman is around a man with quiet confidence, she feels her own energy shift. She may become softer, more feminine, more open. This is not weakness, it's balance. His stability allows her to relax into herself, to let her guard down because she senses that she is with a man who is not easily shaken. Now, it's important to understand what quiet confidence is not. It is not arrogance, it is not domination, and it is not indifference. Arrogance is still insecurity disguised as pride. Domination is fear of losing control. Indifference is apathy. True confidence is none of these things. It is presence. It is the ability to stand in a room and not feel the need to prove anything while still being deeply engaged with the people around you. It is humility mixed with strength, calm mixed with decisiveness. And this is what women crave but rarely find. Because in a world where so many are trying to be seen, the man who doesn't chase attention but instead commands it by simply being is unforgettable. He becomes the one she thinks about long after he's gone, not because of what he did or said, but because of the way he made her feel in his presence. So if you are an older man or even a younger man listening carefully, understand this: the greatest weapon you can carry is not force, not bravado, but quiet confidence. It is developed through knowing yourself, through failing and rising again, through building a life that speaks for itself. And once you have it, you don't need to chase. Attraction comes to you naturally and powerfully. Remember this simple truth: women go crazy for older men, not because of their age, but because of the energy that age, wisdom, and self-assurance create. Quiet confidence is the fragrance of experience. And when you wear it well, it speaks louder than words ever could. One of the most underestimated qualities that makes women deeply attracted to older men is the way they listen. Not the kind of listening where someone waits for their turn to speak, But genuine listening, the kind where she feels her words are landing, where she feels not just heard but understood. This seems simple, but it is profound. In fact, it is one of the things that sets older men apart from younger ones, and it is precisely why women find themselves going crazy when they encounter it. You see, many younger men operate with the urge to impress. They enter conversations with the mindset of how can I show her I'm good enough? How can I make her see my value? So they end up dominating the exchange, filling it with stories, accomplishments, or exaggerated humor. And while there's nothing wrong with ambition or enthusiasm, this constant need to prove oneself can create distance rather than connection. A woman may enjoy the performance for a while, but she rarely feels intimacy in it. Older men, on the other hand, have nothing left to prove. They've lived enough, achieved enough, and experienced enough failure to know that real value doesn't come from showing off. It comes from presence. And presence, in its purest form, is found in listening. That's why when an older man sits across from a woman and allows her to speak, really speak, without rushing her, without interrupting, without turning the spotlight back onto himself, it becomes magnetic. Because in that moment, she feels what so many crave: validation. Psychologically, this taps into one of the deepest needs of human beings, the need to be seen and acknowledged. For women especially, communication is not just about exchanging information, it's about bonding. When a woman talks, she is not always seeking solutions. Often, she is seeking connection. She is revealing her inner world, and what she wants to know is simple: will you enter that world with care, or will you dismiss it? The older man who listens carefully communicates, without saying a word, that her inner world matters. And that kind of validation is intoxicating. There is also a philosophical depth to this. To listen deeply is to quiet the ego. It is to set aside the constant drive to prove, to dominate, to be the center of attention. Listening requires humility, and humility is one of the highest forms of strength, because only the secure man can truly listen. Only the man who does not feel threatened by silence or by someone else's voice taking center stage. That humility, that quiet strength, is what transforms a simple conversation into something unforgettable. And women notice this immediately. They notice when a man isn't distracted by his phone, when he isn't trying to cut her off with his own stories, when he doesn't dismiss her feelings as too much. They notice when he asks thoughtful questions, when he reflects back what she says to show he has understood, when he remembers the little details she shares and brings them up later. These small acts create a sense of intimacy that no flashy words or displays of wealth can ever replace. The irony is that listening, which seems passive, is actually deeply active. It requires attention, focus, and discipline. It requires a man to regulate his impulses, to resist the urge to shift the spotlight back onto himself. And that act of restraint, of discipline, is part of what makes it so attractive. Because discipline is the hallmark of maturity, and women go crazy when they encounter it, especially in men who embody it naturally. Let's not forget that listening is not just about the ears, it's about the heart. True listening means engaging not only with her words, but with her emotions. It means sensing the pauses, the hesitations, the things she doesn't say but implies. An older man who has lived through complex relationships develops the intuition to notice these subtleties. He doesn't just hear the words, he understands the music beneath them. And when a woman feels that kind of understanding, she opens up more, she trusts more, and she bonds more deeply. This is why older men who listen without trying to impress stand out. They offer women what is increasingly rare in the modern world: undivided attention. They give her the gift of presence. And presence is the most powerful expression of love and desire. So, when you think about what truly drives women crazy, it's not the loud gestures, the flashy shows of dominance, or the constant attempts to prove worth. It's the quiet power of a man who listens. The man who lets her feel that her voice matters, that her thoughts are valued, and that her inner world is worth exploring. And here is the lesson: if you want to create unforgettable impact, learn the art of listening, not with the intent to respond, but with the intent to understand. Because when a woman feels truly heard, she feels truly desired, and that is the kind of connection that lingers far longer than words. Remember this: a man who listens doesn't just win her attention, he wins her trust. And trust is the doorway to everything else. There's something undeniably powerful about a man who knows how to stay composed in tense moments. Women notice it instantly. It could be a heated discussion, an unexpected challenge, or even something as small as a minor inconvenience. The way a man handles pressure reveals his true character. And this is where older men stand apart, because emotional maturity is not something you can fake, and it's not something that comes easily to everyone. It is forged through experience, through setbacks, and through years of learning that losing your cool rarely leads to solutions. You see, emotional maturity is really about control over the self. When a younger man is still figuring out who he is, his emotions often control him. Anger erupts quickly, frustration lingers, pride gets easily bruised. But an older man who has lived through storms begins to understand the futility of letting temporary emotions dictate permanent actions. He knows that patience, perspective, and restraint often yield better results than immediate outbursts. And that is why women are drawn to it, because it signals strength at a level deeper than muscles or money. Psychologically, this connects to one of the most important factors in attraction security. A woman doesn't just want excitement. She wants to know that in the face of difficulty, the man beside her will not collapse. She wants to feel that no matter what happens, she is with someone steady. When an older man keeps his composure in moments where others might panic or lash out, it communicates that stability in the most visceral way. His calm becomes contagious. It soothes her nervous system, makes her feel safe, and deepens the bond between them. Think about how rare this is today. We live in a world where reactions are immediate, where people respond to pressure with anger, impulsivity, or withdrawal. Self-control is scarce, but it is also magnetic. When a man demonstrates that he can pause, breathe, and respond instead of react, it shows discipline. And discipline, as we've seen before, is one of the deepest signals of maturity. Philosophically, this traces back to the idea of mastery again. The Stoics, the great thinkers of ancient times, often emphasized that the only thing truly within our control is our response. Circumstances may be chaotic, people may act unjustly, life may throw challenges unexpectedly. But the man who governs his response governs himself. And the man who governs himself is free. Women intuitively understand this. When they see an older man staying centered in the face of chaos, they don't just admire it, they desire it. Because self-mastery is rare and rarity makes it valuable. But let's take this even further. Emotional maturity isn't just about staying calm. It's about responding with wisdom. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to assert and when to yield, when to let go and when to stand firm. These are not skills you learn overnight. They are refined over time through experience. A man who has made mistakes, who has fought battles and learned their lessons, carries this wisdom naturally. And when a woman witnesses it, it reassures her that she is in the presence of someone who won't crumble under pressure, but will lead with clarity. What does this look like in real life? Imagine a disagreement. A younger man might raise his voice, storm out, or shut down. An older man with emotional maturity does something different. He stays engaged without escalating. He listens, he processes, and he responds in a way that de-escalates rather than inflames. Even in moments where he disagrees, he can communicate without disrespect. That ability to hold space for conflict without losing composure is what makes women go crazy. Because in that steadiness, she feels valued and protected, even when tensions are high. It's worth noting that emotional maturity also allows a man to apologize when he is wrong. And this, too, is attractive. It doesn't weaken him, it strengthens him. Only the immature see apology as weakness. The mature understand that it is a form of strength because it takes humility to admit fault, and it takes security to know that doing so doesn't diminish who you are. Women respect this deeply because it shows both accountability and growth. So when we talk about why women are drawn to older men, emotional maturity cannot be overlooked. It is one of the clearest distinctions between those who are still learning to handle themselves and those who have already walked the long road of self-discovery. And it matters because women aren't just attracted to how a man looks in good times. They are even more drawn to how he carries himself in bad times. Here is the truth: life will always bring challenges. No relationship is free of tension. What makes the difference is how those moments are handled. And the man who has cultivated emotional maturity becomes unforgettable because he offers what so many crave but rarely find: steadiness in a world of chaos. Remember this: women may be impressed by a man's words, but they fall in love with how he behaves under pressure. And when you can remain calm, centered, and wise in the storms of life, you don't just attract her, you earn her deepest respect. There's another quality that drives women almost wild when they encounter it in older men, and that is the ability to create stability and direction. Stability in this context is not just financial, though that can play a role. It's deeper than material things. It's the sense that his life has structure, that his decisions have purpose, and that he is not drifting aimlessly through existence. Direction is equally important. It is the clarity of knowing where he is going and the confidence to move toward it. And when a woman senses these qualities in a man, it awakens something profound in her. Let's be honest, life is uncertain. We live in a world where chaos can erupt at any time: economic shifts, personal challenges, sudden losses, or unexpected turns. Many people live in constant reaction to this chaos, pulled by every wave, lacking any anchor. But the man who has built stability within himself and charted a course for his life stands out like a lighthouse in the storm. Women don't just notice this, they feel it. It changes the way they respond to him. Psychologically, stability and direction tap into one of the deepest feminine needs: security. This is not about dependence, it is about harmony. A woman wants to know that if she joins her life with a man's, she is not stepping into disorder, but into something that can hold her, protect her, and give her room to flourish. She wants to feel that his presence adds grounding to her world, not instability. When she senses this, attraction deepens because she can relax into her femininity. She doesn't need to carry all the weight. She doesn't need to be the one holding everything together. His stability allows her to breathe. But stability is not only about what you can give to someone else. It is about who you are. An older man often provides this naturally because he has already gone through the phases of uncertainty, trial, and error. He has built systems for his life, whether in career, finances, or even in his daily discipline, that reflect maturity. He knows how to stand firm when challenges come because he has faced them before. And this becomes attractive not because of what it says about his wealth or status, but because of what it says about his character. Direction, on the other hand, is equally magnetic. A man without direction is like a ship without a compass, easily swayed, easily lost. A man with direction doesn't need to have all the answers, but he has vision. He knows what matters to him. He knows what he stands for, and he knows the road he is walking. Women are drawn to this because it shows leadership. Leadership is not about controlling someone else. It is about guiding yourself with clarity and conviction. And when a woman encounters a man who has this, she cannot help but be intrigued because direction is contagious. It inspires trust. Philosophically, this reminds us of the role of purpose in human life. Without purpose, there is emptiness. With purpose, there is strength. Older men who have discovered purpose exude a different energy. They don't chase validation because they already know what their life is about. And that certainty radiates outward. A woman feels it when she speaks to him. His words have weight. His choices have coherence. His presence has grounding. This is what creates not just attraction, but admiration. Let's take this further. Stability and direction are not flashy. They are not always visible at first glance. They reveal themselves over time in how a man manages his days, in how he treats challenges, in how he organizes his world. But when a woman notices them, the impact is long-lasting. Because while external attraction may begin with looks or charm, lasting attraction is sustained by how a man makes her feel. And nothing makes a woman feel more secure, more cherished, more inspired than being with a man whose life is steady and purposeful. This is why older men who embody these qualities are unforgettable. They create environments where women can rest emotionally, where they feel both safe and motivated. They bring order where there might otherwise be chaos. And this is not about perfection. No man is perfect, but about consistency. Stability is consistency in action. Direction is consistency in purpose. And together, they form the bedrock of true attraction. So, When you consider why women go crazy for older men, remember this: it is not just about charm, confidence, or maturity in isolation. It is also about the sense that he has built something solid, that he knows where he is going, and that he invites her into a life of clarity rather than confusion. That kind of man is rare, and rarity is irresistible. Here is the final truth: women do not crave perfection, but they do crave stability. They do not expect certainty in every detail, but they are drawn to men with vision and direction. Be that man, and you won't just attract her, you will inspire her to dream bigger alongside you.